Dungeon Master tip of the podcast is Inciting Incident. An inciting incident is like a pebble that brings the avalanche. That moment in a play or a movie that, if it didn't happen, the whole rest of the story would never have occurred. It's not always the first scene in a movie or a play, but it could be. I mean, you could make it the very first event. Sometimes that happens. It's the important moment that really drives the rest of the story into high gear and sets the central conflict into motion.
Like Luke Skywalker's aunt and uncle being killed.
That would be a good example, I think. Mm-hmm. I would agree with that. The inciting incident is hard to quantify in many levels, but it's worth trying nonetheless, because understanding the nature of the inciting incident can really give the DM a powerful sense of how to introduce conflicts and storylines to a regular weekly game.
Although I guess the start blowing Alderon's a very big one too.
This nice little tidbit actually came right out of the Kobold Guide to Game Design, Volume 1. If you haven't picked that up, I definitely recommend checking it out. It's a wealth of knowledge. Wolfgang Bauer, Ed Greenwood, and a bunch of other really great names are inside it that help make it. So, what do you think about this, Christian?
I mean, it's very correct. I mean, there's always going to be... basically, the inciting incident is your plot hook. It's what really kicks things into gear. It doesn't always need to be an event or an active event. It doesn't need to be a combat or something dramatic. It can be something as simple as somebody finding a worthless medallion inside a magic shop and deciding to buy it. Yeah, so that's the thing. It's like, this is how you get your players invested in your story, is, what I think the most important takeaway is the inciting incident is how players want to come back to the table, why they want to come back to the table.
That's definitely accurate. I think that when I was reading this, the thing that really hit home for me was, for instance, I actually in the notes, I reference the Vampirates example, because why does the Vampirates encounter exist? It exists because vampires are killed by adventurers daily. All right, so they decided, okay, people are killing us. What can we do about it? That's really what started that whole thing. Same thing with like the Lord of the Rings. How did that get started? Anybody?
A ring.
Oh, look at that! I found something.
Yeah.
I mean, it's as simple as that, but after applying this technique for a few months, I realized that I can easily form good hooks just by a single sentence of an inciting incident, is what it's called in here. And using that as kind of my template, I found that I have written better stories because of it. And that's why I wanted to share this with you guys. I guess that's the whole point. It's from a guide to game design. So, any other points on this topic that we didn't really touch on?
Nope.
All right, fantastic. That'll do for our Dungeon Master tip, the inciting incident.